I better watch what I say. The lamp is waiting right over there. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Pixar movies. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. Well, it's the first Saturday of the month, so that means it's time for another episode of the Movie Nerds Club. This month, we're looking at the studio that revolutionized modern animation and has been setting the bar higher and higher with each new film. After you watch my top picks for Pixar movies, make sure you check out the videos of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Links to their videos are in the description below. Well, we've done MNC videos for Disney animation as well as DreamWorks, so a Pixar video was inevitable. And with Pixar's 25th film, Turning Red, headed our way next week, the time has finally arrived. I know I say it basically every month, but this was such a hard topic. There are only 24 movies to choose from, so you'd think it'd be easier to narrow down than some of the other past topics. But we're talking about Pixar here, the studio that somehow manages to reach directly into your soul with every film, and is all but guaranteed to make you cry in the theater. Much like Disney, Pixar has been a part of my life since I was a kid. But unlike Disney, Pixar actually got its start when I was a kid. These movies have always been a part of my life, and I truly love most of them, so narrowing down to just 5, let alone ranking them, is a near impossible task. Remember, these are just my top movies, not the top movies, so be sure to post your own personal top Pixar movies in the comments below. I've already reviewed some of these movies on this channel, so if you want to check those out for some more in-depth thoughts on each of them, I'll put links in the description below, and also link them up in the cards as we go along. Alright, let's get this top list started. Coming in at number 5, Toy Story 3. It's not often that sequels make it into my top 5 lists, and even less often that the third film in a franchise does. But Toy Story 3 is something incredibly special. I have a deep connection with this particular franchise. I grew up with it, and really grew up with Andy, being about the same age and hitting the same life milestones as he did with each film released. And so these toys always felt like my toys too. And between that deep-seated connection and the culmination of the franchise's core thematic arc, I can say without a doubt that this is peak emotional Pixar for me. I can't even venture a guess as to how many times I've seen this movie, but without fail, the ending makes me cry every time. Of course, emotional impact and tears alone don't guarantee a top spot in the Pixar list. We'd have a 15-way tie if that were the case. The emotion is the most important thing here for me, but I gotta say that the character development is also wonderful. At this point in the franchise, we were 3 movies in, so all of our main hero characters were long established. We knew what to expect from them, and their personalities. Yet there's some interesting nuance here in the face of new situations that just continues to mirror the franchise's themes of growing up and friendship. And although we now have a Toy Story 4, which I really do enjoy, Toy Story 3 offered a fitting resolution. As emotionally taxing as the film is, it truly feels like the perfect conclusion to the Toy Story trilogy. Coming in at number 4, Toy Story. I told you this was a big franchise for me, though I promise this is the last Toy Story movie on the list. That said, 4th and 5th place here could have easily been switched around for me. The margin between Toy Story and Toy Story 3 is infinitesimal, but I do have to give a slight edge to Toy Story, because it was the beginning of everything. The beginning of this franchise, the beginning of Pixar, the beginning of computer animated feature films. So as much as I love Toy Story 3, that movie wouldn't have ever existed without the first Toy Story. Toy Story set the stage for this franchise, but was also just an incredibly creative and good movie on its own, introducing an imagination-sparking premise. What if your toys were actually alive? An amazing concept for a kid, but the dual-level humor made it just as entertaining and engaging for adults. A great premise and comedy are nice, but this movie, and the franchise as a whole, wouldn't have been anything without its characters. Woody and Buzz are an iconic rivals-turned-friends duo, and the memorable cast of secondary characters round out the group to create a set of toys you want to watch again and again, to infinity and beyond. Coming in at number 3, Finding Nemo. Once again, emotion wins out in this list. Man, does this movie have heart. Even though later Pixar films have hit me harder emotionally, this was the first one that really got to me. Toy Story was something new. A Bug's Life was fun, Toy Story 2 was a great return to beloved characters, Monsters, Inc. was really creative and funny, but Finding Nemo was different, and the studio's first major step towards the emotional, heart-driven style it's now known for. The previous films all had touching moments, Jessie's song in Toy Story 2 always being one of the most affecting for me, but nothing could have prepared us for the heart-wrenching opening of Finding Nemo, the first of many such openings that Pixar would treat us, or perhaps subject us to, over the years. But it wasn't just a solitary moment here. This heartfelt story was touching throughout. But, like I mentioned before, emotional impact isn't the only thing required to earn a spot on this list, and the vast adventure of Finding Nemo wasn't just a sob fest. It was also extremely funny, full of incredibly creative moments and dialogue. It focused on an expansive underwater setting and a thrilling journey home story. But beyond the creativity and fun, we're treated to some amazing themes surrounding parenting, family, mental health issues, and Pixar's tried and true theme of growing up. Plus, on top of all of that, this film is a technical and visual marvel. I realize you could say that about just about any Pixar film, but the underwater seascapes are breathtakingly realistic, and the water-manipulated lighting? Just amazing. Coming in at number 2, Monsters, Inc. Pixar has made some incredible movies over the years. They've crafted stories and worlds that have captured the hearts, minds, and imaginations of millions. But with 24 films under their belt, Monsters, Inc. remains, for me at least, the most creative and original film they've ever made. And that's really saying something considering the competition. The world building here is amazing, taking something as exciting as monsters and putting them in this amusingly mundane world that parallels ours, both figuratively and literally in the context of the story. It instantly makes the characters relatable. Yeah, they're monsters, but they're just like us. They have jobs that frustrate them. They have friends and coworkers and rivals that they have to contend with. So when these characters, when Sully and Mike are thrust into this situation, it's an exciting adventure on multiple levels. But why does Monsters, Inc. come in the number 2 spot for me? This was the movie that made me realize Pixar was something truly spectacular. I was 11 years old when this film came out, but it amazed me. The story was funny, creative, and heartfelt, but this was the first time that the technical aspects of animation blew me away. When Toy Story first came out, I was too young to fully appreciate the significance of the animation, and that lack of understanding continued for the next 2 films. But Monsters, Inc. was such a huge leap forward that it struck me even at that young of an age. I can distinctly remember sitting in that movie theater in 2001, staring at Sully's snow-covered fur blowing in the wind during the Himalayas sequence. I was still engaged by the story, but that animation feat was so astonishing to me that it drew my attention during that very first watch. So that means my number 1 Pixar movie is The Incredibles. It's crazy to think that this has been in the number 1 spot for me for almost 20 years now. It doesn't feel like it's been that long at all, and rewatching the movie, even now, it doesn't feel that old. Looking at this movie today, kind of on a superficial level, it doesn't really seem that unique. Ooh, another superhero movie. But we gotta remember that when this movie came out, we were only in the early stages of the superhero movie phenomenon that's taken over theaters the past few decades. There were some big ones that had come out, and it was starting to become popular, but we were still years away from the cinematic universes that we now associate with superheroes. And so, this movie was unique, mixing superheroes with 60s spy movies, and topping it all off with Pixar's expected heartfelt themes. This movie was also a bit of a gamble for Pixar. They had already had a string of successes, but this movie was something quite different. It was tapping directly into an up-and-coming trend, but it was also the first Pixar movie to predominantly, and in this case, solely, feature human characters. Not only did this require upping their animation game to steer clear of the uncanny valley, but it necessitated a very compelling story and set of characters, because it didn't have the benefit of talking toys, bugs, or fish to do the heavy lifting. But it more than delivered, with an exciting story jam-packed with action, and some incredibly well-developed characters that genuinely feel like a real family. It's got some more mature themes, even by Pixar standards, spending a lot of time with the adult characters and their problems, but it still remains one of the most fun Pixar movies. Alright, so there you have it, my top 5 Pixar movies. What are your top movies? Be sure to post your own ranking in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the pics of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Remember, I've already reviewed some of these movies, so you could check those videos out for some more in-depth discussion of each, as well as my ratings, pros and cons, and even tailored film recommendations. Also, if you're interested in buying any of these movies, I do have affiliate links to all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this top list, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe if you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies. The way life should be.